Welcome, 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 everyone. And we are so pleased that you are here this evening at this edition of The Back Room. I am your host for the evening, Hank Philippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 14 novels of suspense. My current book is Her Perfect Life, which is so casually displayed on the door behind me. And my upcoming book coming up in February is, look at this, The House Guest. Look at that precious thing.
Wow.
It is. She's really cool. And you see the reflection in her sunglasses, but more about that another time. So let me introduce you to them right now. Let me look. First on my screen is Elle Dávila Cardinal in alphabetical order. Anne is a writer and director of recruitment for Vermont College of Fine Arts, where she earned her MFA in writing. Her young adult novels include Five Midnights, the winner of the 2020 International Latino Book Award and finalist for a Bram Stoker, Category 5, and the upcoming Breakup from Hell. The Storyteller's Death is her first novel for adults and was released on October 4th, 2022. And her second book with Source Books, We Need No Wings, is scheduled for release in March of 2024. And Anne lives in Vermont. Welcome, Anne. Thanks you for being here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Elle Cosimano is here from Virginia. Elle is a USA Today bestselling author, an International Thriller Award winner, a Bram Stoker Award finalist, and an Edgar Award nominee. Her debut novel for adults, Finley Donovan is Killing It, kicked off a fast-paced, witty contemporary mystery series, which was a People magazine pick, was named one of New York Public Library's best books of 2021, and has been optioned for the screen by 20th Television Studios. As I said, she lives with her husband and two sons in Virginia, and the third in her series is out right now. Hamdy is a British screenwriter and author who works on both sides of the Atlantic. Known primarily for thought-provoking action thrillers, James Patterson described Adam as a worthy successor to Robert Ludlum. Adam's most recent novel, The Other Side of Night, is an intricately structured emotional roller coaster that will break your heart and blow your mind. And as we said, he lives in Mauritius, where it is 4:15 in the morning. How you doing?
Yeah. I'm pretty good. Yeah, I can hear my rooster going off. So if you hear a rooster, that's Bertie.
Okay, we will introduce Ausma Zehanat, who holds a PhD in international human rights law with a specialization in military intervention and war crimes in the Balkans. She is the author of the award-winning Ese Katak and Rachel Getty mystery series, as well as the author of the critically acclaimed Khorasan Archives fantasy series. Her new crime series debuted with Blackwater Falls this November. Khan is the former editor-in-chief of Muslim Girl magazine. A British-born Canadian and former adjunct law professor, Khan now lives in Colorado with her husband. So we will start, as always, with our not quite 20 questions. You see that we have these fancy backroom cards that have questions on them, and we will ask them to each author to let them tell you a little bit about themselves and give you some fodder for the questions that you will ask them in the breakout rooms, right? You will ask them in the breakout rooms. So let me do it in the order that I see you on the screen, and I'll start with Adam Hamdy. Adam, where did you grow up, and how do you think that affected your writing, if it did?
I grew up primarily in central London. I also spent 3 years in Cairo, in Egypt, between the ages of 8 and 11. And I think my abiding memory of Cairo is chaos. It sort of introduced me to the chaos of life. You'd be walking along and you'd see a motorcycle with a mother, father, and 3 children going along, 5 people on it, and cows and donkeys in the road, and just chaos. So I got an appreciation for just how random life can be, and how you just have odd occurrences, and that idea that life is stranger than real life is stranger than fiction. So I think that's how it impacted me and my writing.
You can feel that in your books. the idea to have an open mind and that you never know what's around the next corner.
Yeah.
I see that. I can imagine little you in Cairo just thinking, oh my golly.
It was so bewildering. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on to Anne. And your book is like that too. It's lyrical and gorgeous, The Storyteller's Death, and completely immersive. But given that, your question is, do you have any, other than being a fabulous writer, do you have any special talents that we might not know about?
I needle felt. I make little reading creatures for people for Christmas, or if someone has a dog that passes, I recreate their dog. It's very comforting at the end of a work day to like poke this wood with sharp needles. But anyway, and
Elle, your question is, what was your very first job?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I worked as a mate on a charter fishing boat on the Chesapeake Bay when I was 14. That was my very first paying job. And so you could picture 14-year-old me lugging 5-gallon buckets of chum down the dock every morning at daybreak. That was my first experience working. It was fantastic and I loved it, but it's not anything anyone would probably expect.
No, my jaw has dropped imagining you doing that. How did you get that job?
My father owned a charter fishing business, and so he asked me and I loved to fish. You put a fishing, still to this day, put a fishing pole in my hand, I'm happy. That's all I need. But he needed someone to come work for him, and I volunteered for the job, and I had so much fun. I just kept going back. So it was every weekend and every summer through middle school and part of high school.
That's very sweet. You're right that is surprising. I wouldn't have pictured you doing that. Ausma, what is the first thing that you remember writing, even as a kid?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it was in 3rd grade. I was in Saskatchewan and I had entered this essay contest called Why I Am Proud to Be a Canadian. So, and I didn't know much yet about being a Canadian because I'd only moved there, I think, 2 years before from England. And so I think my entire essay was about how I really like snow, because I was in northern Saskatchewan where we had 6 months of winter. And the contest was run by the Royal Canadian Legion, and I won 3rd prize piece. I guess they must have liked snow also. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Adam, this is a random question. It really is. And it's just sort of funny. Are you a morning person or a night person?
I'm actually a night person. I prefer the night. My brain seems to work better after a little bit of warm-up time. So this is my apologies if I don't perform as expected, because it is very well. I suppose, is it night, is it morning? This is one of those existential questions that you promised I wouldn't have. I don't really know.
And again, Anne, this is interesting. Are you superstitious?
Oh, hell yeah. Of course I am. I'm Latin. Yeah, no, the salt over the shoulder, some of them I've realized a friend said that there was a Puerto Rican one where you're not, once you leave the house, you can't go back. It's bad luck. And I was like, yeah, no. At this point in my life, I have to go back in like 3 times. I've forgotten things. But yeah, no, I'm superstitious. And I'm a horror writer often. So I don't, what it is I don't want to take any chances. Let's put it that way.
Elle, you keep getting the kids' questions. Elle, what was your favorite book as a child?
Oh gosh. As a young child, I fell in love with the Shel Silverstein poetry books, and I could read those over and over and over again. And then kind of moving up to middle school and high school, I fell in love with S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders became a favorite for years. I could read it over and over.
Why was that? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I don't know why. I think these characters, I just fell in love with this found family. And to this day, I love reading about found families. I love writing about found families and those kinds of relationships that develop out of necessity, and that one in particular just stuck with me, I guess.
Well, you write about found families now. The Finley has a found family, certainly.
Absolutely. I love that. I love the friendship in that book is one of the most special parts, I think.
Exactly. Christopher Zagorski is saying Pony Boy forever. Is Pony Boy?
Yes, Pony Boy forever.
Ausma, do you remember your first pet?
Yes, I do. My first pet was a Siamese cat named Tina. And we have this long theme of always having cats, if not our own, then other people's. And she was a sweetheart, very calm, because I have 3 siblings. So just imagine 4 rambunctious kids running around the house constantly and scaring a cat to death. But she just never batted an eyelid. She was such a cutie. Loved her.
And what did you say her name was?
Tina.
Tina. That's cute. Okay, you all are marvelous, and these are great. I always learn so many wonderful things, and I hope you all do too. And I hope that gives you some fodder for asking questions of these authors in the breakout room. Let's very quickly go to your recommendations. We ask each author to give a recommendation of a book that they think we should read, because Karen and I not only want you to buy all of these authors' books, I can say that because I'm the host, but to buy other authors' books as well, to keep you learning about new and fantastic books. So Adam, we'll start with you. What book are you recommending?
I'm actually, there we go. I'm recommending Moonflower Murders by Anthony Horowitz. It's the second book in the Susan Ryland series that starts with Magpie Murders. But I think this one, he really ups his game. It's a fascinating murder mystery that has a book within a book. So Susan Ryland was a publisher, and the series features one of her author's books within the book, and it has something to do with the murder. And I think it's just a brilliantly constructed. Anthony's sort of pushing, I think, the boundaries of crime fiction.
Anne, what would you recommend?
I'm recommending The Taste of Sugar by Marisol Vera, and it is it tells a unique story because it's historical fiction about when the U.S. invaded Puerto Rico. So when they took over the island, which nobody, as far as I can tell, has written about in fiction until Marisol's book. And it's not only beautifully written, but it sort of outlines the landowners were convinced to leave the island to cut sugarcane in Hawaii, and told they would have schools and houses and all this. And it ended up being basically a slave ship. And they, arrived to terrible conditions. And so it has some sort of, anti-colonialism, some history, it's just really interesting. It's just a story that hasn't been told before.
Wonderful.
She's a beautiful writer.
That we don't know. Elle, what book are you recommending?
I am going to recommend The Mostly True Story of Tanner and Louise by Colleen Oakley. If you happen to be a fan of the Finley Donovan mystery series, you will find something to adore with this book. It has a phenomenal female friendship, a cross-generational friendship, which I think is fantastic. Humor, it has a great mystery and some fantastically fun criminal shenanigans. So I just really enjoyed it. It has a lot of heart. It was just one of these books that when you put down, you feel so satisfied. And it is not yet out. It is coming out in March. I cannot wait for everybody to discover it. But I would love to see some folks check it out and maybe consider pre-ordering it so that you have it when it comes out.
Only in this group could you talk about fun criminal shenanigans.
Yeah.
And we're all like, oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And Ausma, what book are you recommending?
So I recommended Omar Al-Akkad's What Strange Paradise, which Omar's book won the Giller Prize in Canada, which is our highest literary award. And he's also the author of a book called American War. He's a former journalist, and he is such a literary writer. The book has simply gorgeous prose.
Thank you so much for those wonderful recommendations. As I said, Karen and I hope that you will buy all of our authors' books. No pressure, it's just their careers, and also the books that they have recommended. Wasn't that fun? We hope you enjoyed that taste of what a backroom session is like. But more fun comes immediately afterward. That's when the audience is broken up into 4 breakout rooms, and each author in turn visits each room. We'd love to show you what a breakout session is like, because those relaxed face-to-face conversations between best-selling authors and readers are the hallmark of backroom events. But breakout sessions are never recorded, because what's said in the back room stays in the back room.